tracking like rape and sexual assaults. And because, you know, it requires a lot of confidential as the person moves from one part of the community, one solution to another, in the community, hospital, doctor.
It's maybe a little different because there and you can pinpoint it automatically. Here you don't know if it was straight fentanyl, you don't know if it was maybe something else that caused it, it wasn't at all. Maybe a little tougher and you may have to wait for toxicology or something in order to do that, but still think there's gotta be a way to map that so that we can really zero in on those particular dynamics.
And there are like surveillance methods to, you know, have the data for this, but because we're in a rural area and the population isn't as populated as like the East Coast or the West Coast, it wouldn't be something that we could probably release to the public without keeping like HIPAA intact.
Sure.
But numbers you can. And the police know things too, so.
Anything else COVID taught us, we can figure out ways to track stuff and be very, very basic with.
How long do you have to administer Narcan after somebody has this? Okay. Swallows it.
It just depends on what the quantity of fentanyl that they're taking. I mean, two grains of salt is a lethal dose for an average adult, a fatal dose. So it just depends, but EMTs now, one bottle of Narcan is not getting people to come around. I mean, some of them in cases are having to do 8 to 10 different, you know, just to get them to come back around. And then you only have, you know, 10, 15 minutes before that reattaches, the fentanyl reattaches to the brain receptors. Before you're going to go back right into it. So you have to get to the hospital. You know, it is, but yeah, so I mean, it just depends on what you're taking and how much you're taking. And the other thing I want to just note is that these kids that are kids, young adults, whoever that it may be, this right here is the why, is the how. Snapchat, all of those other different apps, they can go on their phone and within minutes, and I'm not joking when I say that, they can have pills delivered to their house just like they would a pizza. And that is the God honest truth. You know, there's little being done about Snapchat. They know that this is happening and other apps as well. But they, you know, you would like to think that they would be helping with some of this traffic, but as of right now, they don't. But that's what it is. So it's not, they're not meeting up in a dark alley. It's not that kind of a drug deal. It is truly, you know,
Individual.
yes, and they have it right there at their fingertips. So.
And to put overdose into a perspective that everybody can understand, when a person is overdosing, the receptors that are sending messages to the lungs to breathe are blocked. So if you think of it from a standpoint of a person drowning, it'll be the same lack of oxygen getting to the brain. So that's why Narcan is so important. It comes through, knocks those opioid molecules off of the receptors, and then a person is able to regain consciousness and regain breathing. The thing that's tricky about Narcan is that if there's a polysubstance, so on the market right now, there's a lot of xylazine being mixed in with opioids and street drugs. If a person is overdosing only on an opioid, Narcan will be more effective than if a person was overdosing on something like an opioid xylazine mix or a polysubstance. Like she mentioned, Narcan is effective, but you may need more than one dose of Narcan. So it's something that people may want to have on hand. That's definitely something that I teach to the youth that I talk to. Definitely having Narcan on hand is something that all of us should do. But it's not a guarantee that it will bring an individual back if they are overdosed on like fentanyl or a polysubstance.
But you need 8 of them sometimes.
It just depends on the level of fentanyl that's in their system. So one sweet and low pack could kill, I think it's 150 people. that is, you know, if that was fentanyl,
By the brain.
yes, that is.
And for example, if a person was overdosing on an Oxycontin that was regulated by the pharmacy, they may only need one dose of fentanyl. I mean, not one dose of fentanyl, but one dose of Narcan. But if they're overdosing on Narcan, unregulated fentanyl, they may need more additional doses of Narcan.
So there's actually,
never.
there's regulated fentanyl?
No, well, yes, so they do have pharmaceutical grade fentanyl, yes. To be clear, like if you were to go into a doctor's office or a hospital and give her, they give you epidural, and epidural is pharmaceutical grade fentanyl, but that is regulated fentanyl. It's not like the illicitly manufactured fentanyl that's out on the streets, right?
So how would you recognize if you have a child, or if you have, a spouse or whatever that's overdosing on that? How would you know that?
Well, it's just going to, I mean, it's very subtle. There's been so many cases, I can't talk to Jason's as far as that goes, but so many kids that are with other children and they just nod off. It just looks like they're going to sleep. There's no big, alarms
Like a
going off.
seizure.
There's nothing. I mean, they just are going to sleep, and it's until they maybe have, are further into it and are having some other issues there. But yeah, for everyone, I mean, that's what they say. If you see someone that's sleeping and they shouldn't be sleeping, it's a loud place, then you need to tend to them, and you need to tend to them immediately. A lot of the kids, if the kids are around other children, those that have taken the fentanyl are being left unattended because the kids are scared. They're scared to call for help. So that's another thing that has to, that's what we have to express to the children, that it is so important. And you have sometimes 30 seconds to 2 minutes before someone is, without oxygen that long. So it just is, it's vital that they call paramedics. And of course, if they have no administer.
And it takes 5 or 6 minutes for the ambulance to get to my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then another 5 or 6 minutes back. So you're already at 12 or more, and now we get.
That is why Narcan is so
Yeah.
pressing right now. Some people think that it's just a pass, to give somebody a pass to do that, to take on that behavior. And it's a life-saving tool. And without it, that person will not be saved. So,
Like the snake than an antidote.
yes. Yeah.
So it stops the lungs, it stops the heart at the same time?
Well, I think the oxygen just, I think.
Typically, that's what you can see, when someone's there, they can check them, they don't respond, there's
Right.
no heart, that tells you you've got something.
Right.
That's when you don't see, all those type of things.
Yeah, if you recognize, but it's, like I said, it's pretty. So,
And then you'd ask the question, they're seeing some drug paraphernalia or something.
So when will our task force happen?
We have another meeting coming up, and then September.
Where does this task force base that around the county?
Yeah, that's where our first meeting was, yeah,
I mean,
one. We've only had a chance to meet once.
so when did we decide to, and I say we because I guess Ottawa County is invited to be a part of this, right?
Yes,
Okay. When was the first meeting?
first meeting was last Tuesday. Leslie Campbell wasn't able to attend that one, but she did come on Thursday and met with Asia to. Yeah.
So
Well, would you want other people or more than one person? Would you want a commissioner? Would you want to come? To the meetings, just
well, it depends.
when they are,
Yeah.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think there ought to be documentation
Sure.
on the number of people that you touch. I mean, you gave us 192 under gatherings at the schools, the coffee shop, everything else. That 1,092 is that over an 8-month period.
Yes.
So how you control your documentation on how many people are there,
So,
the age, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I just think that for me, I mean, if it was something that would stop somebody from going through what my daughter has gone through with her husband, I mean, I'd give you all the money we could. At the same time, it's still clicking. Still clicking. There's one guy that's actually been a part of 2 kids. One of them was my grandson. But this is what they say. I'm not going to get to very fruits like that. We've got to. I mean, you got to be tough. And I think that's why we're not getting as much attention or as much attention as being on. Then you've got your North End, which is, here, as far as I'm concerned, it's telling people, here's a backup. It's going to save you. And to me, that's the pot color the kettle black. It just doesn't make any sense. I know it's a need. And I wish they had it with Jason, and his, when he got, but I just think that we need to document on how many people you are touching. You know what I'm getting at here?
yes, sir.
I mean, very, very, we're in the process, I think, of hiring a drug and suicide person, for the sheriff department. And there again, you get into the HIPAA rules, everything else, but at the same time, whenever this person is hired, I want to be able to document how many times they go out, not who they see, but how many
numbers.
I want to see numbers, and how many people that they've been in touch with, and what good they've done. Basically, just recourse, putting everything together. Does that make any sense?
Yes. So for example, when I went into Rock Creek High School, there was a coach there, Coach Johnson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. But he sent out a curriculum that he had typed up for me that lists the periods that I would go into his health class or PE class, and then the amount of students that are in each class. But there were times where he was asking me to present in another class. So instead of doing 6 sessions that day, I did 7. That wasn't recorded. So I'm not sure how we could record how many students that we talked to, but that's definitely a good idea.
Well, that shouldn't be too long.
No.
You go in the door and you count the number of people sitting there, and you got it. I mean, it doesn't have to be done, and then you record it. But how many instances has there been the other direction, where we said there's going to be 6 classes and you only have enough to fill up 4?
It hasn't happened.
Well, this is what I'm getting. Which is, documentation, as far as I'm concerned, is very, very important. I'm trying to make this, because I think that's a lot of what you get into is people are not aware, there's that, of what is available, how they get into it, and the circumstances that follow it. And I know you're not going to be there, but you might get some input on some of this stuff.
Like not being able to give numbers, because the numbers are convincing. I think it's 10, if it's 20, we leaders of our local governments need to know.
And this is the beginning steps of the project. I mean, this is again, I think everybody's view is that we say one person is for smaller efforts.
Yeah.
And we don't do that one, or that one person is, but we're just, like I said, it's met last week. I know there's been some things, grants that have been requested. and filled out and everything else. So I'm not gonna have all the answers today, but this is a process. I mean, we want to get started, we want to get moving forward, and we want to save people's lives.
Can I ask you a legal question, Larry?
Maybe I might be able to answer that. Not my best.
Do you think that if a conviction when somebody's selling this poison takes place, do you think that would be a deterrent a little bit on this stuff getting out?
You know, it's gonna keep them from selling it again. I mean, there's so much money that we're talking about. We have to keep people that are selling poison and killing people, or and wrecking families and everything else, wrecking our communities, need to go to prison. In my opinion, we need to get them off the street, and we need to send a message. We're not going to tolerate it in our communities. I do think that there is a deterrent. If you start sending, if people who sell this stuff know they're going to get served a lengthy time in prison, yes, I think at some point it has a deterrent effect. I think we saw it years ago with Potawatomi County with methamphetamine lab. We were basically kind of there for a while, eliminated, but when I was over there, we were putting a lot of people in prison too, for a lengthy period of time.
Marianne, what do you go after in terms of conviction on this at this point in time? What does the law allow?
It's case by case.
Is it a murder conviction, murder one?
There's a specific crime we charge, and I couldn't tell you the exact. I don't have the sentencing grid in front of me right now.
Would that be more of a deterrent if, the law was stricter to arrest somebody and they've already convicted of it?
What do you mean?
If it was an immediate 3 strikes and you're out, life in prison.
Well, not only are they charged with possession and
Right.
distribution, they're charged with a separate statute, which Barry's talking about.
Right.
For the actual killing of an individual.
And that's the part that I'm talking.
Yes, there's a separate statute that is.
Right.
And that's distribution with bodily harm and death. And
Right.
it's a felony one,
Level 1, right.
level one.
And it's gonna be really tough to trace, say.
It's very, very,
To the actual drug dealer and
we are going through that right now in
Yeah.
Pot County with Sherry Shook. Sherry is prosecuting 2 cases now in Pot County. It's very, very difficult, and there's a whole lot of science behind it. It's not just, a lot of information. I go back to some of the apps that had information but had deleted information. Snapchat, that's what they do, and you can't retrieve it back. There's several of those types of acts going on. I will speak to Asia though, as far as the schools and stuff, or trying to get into the schools. I did go to Wamego High School in January of this year. I spoke with the principal and I had a lot of information for her. When I left that meeting, she said, "Oh my, how soon can you get here?" And I said, "I will be here as soon as you give me a day, give me a time." Well, then she had to go through all of the other channels, and we still have not gone to Wamego High. We are now scheduled for this calendar year, in the end of August is when we'll go through the high school. So Jason was a student at Wamego High School. All of my children have been, I myself, my husband. We've all gone through Wamego High School. So I thought, they would just let me in. They would let me come talk to these kids. And it's a real, there's a lot of political kind of things that happen before you can get in front of the kids. And as far as the bringing everybody together, anytime that we're going to have a collaboration is going to be fantastic, because I couldn't call a town hall meeting and just me be there. People, I'd have my family show up, but if we have Riley County Police Department, we have the prosecutors, we have the health department, we have the commissioners, Riley County, Pot County. If we have all of those agencies, EMT is front and center. They are right among all of this, the tragic events that they have to see. But everybody together, that makes a difference. And it makes a difference for community members to know that they're going to hear from so many different agencies and ways to go about this. So
do you go to PT, parent teacher organizations too, so parents are aware of You know, is that on the agenda?
We haven't gotten that far, but yeah, we'd like to. We wanted to start in high schools first. And our first step was just trying to see how we can get in to the high schools, and really the health classes have probably been the best avenue because they're smaller, more controlled, and we can ask questions that way. But yeah, definitely. We have a full-time person and longer.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to that point, because we got about 10 minutes left here till 5. What do we need to be doing and thinking about moving forward then?
I would love to have I would love to have Asia stay on, or clone her. You know, we could definitely do this full time, if not, you know, full-time. But I think the task force is definitely needed to bring everyone together so that we're not duplicating effort, that this is a regional effort, and we know what each other's doing. We've got recovery, treatment, and prevention all at the same table. I think that's great. But yeah, we definitely need more prevention.
I think too, if I could, but we also need a coordinated effort, and the people that were attended the first task force meeting have big jobs that they have to do on their own, and so really, you know, so we're not duplicating efforts, and we're not duplicating grant efforts. Julie and I collaborated before we submitted our state opioid grants, just to ensure that we didn't duplicate efforts, and so just coordinating. You know, as a region is important, but having a pay person that can focus their time and energy on that is even more important. And I think what Mr. Pierce said about pooling our dollars between the city and the county, that might be an avenue to help spearhead a unified and targeted effort in the region would be one deal.
In regards to the opioid funds and or grants, what are they allowed to be used for? I mean, I have absolutely no idea at this point in time. So if you're coming to me and saying, we want to do this and we want to do this, and I'm making a decision on it, I really need to know what we can do with it, because as of right now, I don't know anything. I mean, I obviously using common sense would tell you that, you know, some of this is going to fall into that realm, but we need to make sure of that.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kristen with the city, and I've been kind of beginning coordinating our efforts with that. And the agreement with the Attorney General's office states that it has to go to prevention, treatment, reduction, or mitigation, which those are pretty broad categories. And then the reporting on the other end is you have to state how much has been expended and which category it went to and how that was used. So there is a lot of flexibility in that, but it does have to fit into one of those categories. That's really all that's been said now. I did also want to say that one of the things that came up was in our initial discussions, does this specifically have to go to opioid? And the feedback we got from the Attorney General's office is it's more substance use. So it doesn't specifically have to mitigate just those, that category of drugs. So that's kind of where we are now. It is open-ended, but as long as it can tie back to one of those, it's an approved use.
How did your original grant is going to be used up at the end of this month? How was that? What was the dollar amount on it? And what was that supposed to be? It looks so funny to me that you got a grant that started in January and it's dead 8 months into the program. It looks to me like it should have been to the end of the year. How was the information handled on that? Was used up too fast? Because the way I understand this was kind of a part-time position. I just wondering, you know, why right in the middle of the year, we're looking at trying to find some funds.
Yeah, it just depends on how the RFP was laid out by the request for proposal laid out by KDHE, and that's how it was laid out. We came together and we applied for it. And then the grant funds weren't distributed until the end of the year last year, and it was to be used up at the end of August of this year. It was about $35,000, I believe is what it was. So we were able to get with that a part-time individual and some extra funding for marketing.
Here's also my question. It kind of falls along there. I mean, we're kind of 2 weeks away from this grant ending, and don't know where we're going at. Whatever we do in the future, we need to be a little bit more proactive as far as that's concerned. I don't think it's fair to leave Asia and her work just kind of floating at this particular point in time. But You know, whether it's part-time, full-time, whatever, it's point in time, and I tend to agree full-time is definitely probably needed with this, particularly if you're taking a regional approach, but we tried to, where are we, at least we haven't had the conversation anyway, that trying to find grants or other resources in the amount of time to continue to back that up.
I've applied for 3 separate grants. 2 of them I applied for back in May, and then another one was due in June. I was hopeful that I'd hear back from them right now, but yeah, that just didn't.
If this thing comes to fruition, I would like to see a job description.
Sure.
I'd like to see, you know, the salary, what kind of benefits from it, the budget for a year. You know, and not just, well, here's an extra 20 grand that Raleigh County, Pike County, Gary County, you know, we just throw it in the pot. People on the payroll, I just,
I would like to say, I understand all of the discussion, but I think as a community, we have to be cognizant of the fact that we can't be passive about this and think that it's just low cases here because you know, there's so much that's not documented, we don't have access to, and if it's there, it's real, and we can just look at today, look at 5-10 years from now, what it would look like, if we don't be proactive and address this and just we're calmly have a conversation, but it's, you know, with our youth, 8-12, 18 to 24-year-old, we're a college community. These are children that are coming into our education system. We rent to them, we worship with them, they take care of our children, pets, neighbors, and whatever. So, I mean, I think it's something that there should be a sense of urgency. Whatever the solution is, and we do need to realize this is real. Manhattan is small. People come from all around the world to Manhattan. And with our military community, our university, or just it's been the quality of life. So we cannot, and I feel like it's disservice if we sit and be passive and you know spending too much time having a conversation about it and realizing we have an issue and it's we need to address it with a sense of urgency and be proactive in fighting for it for our youth and young people.
I'm not talking about your task force. I'm talking about the job that Asia is holding right now.
Right, because you've got momentum, and I think that's something we need to keep going and have the communication continue. That's why I'm especially just as a community member that and for our youth and young adults that you know to have someone with the expertise and having to start this momentum is really important, especially this time of year. Schools are starting back up, and you know, we got a full round with away from COVID or whatever, and just getting those students and being able to connect with them and keep the conversation going rather than losing ground and having to start over.
And I think we need to do a regional, you know, and that's part of the task force, a regional contribution. If we make a contribution to keep it going, it has to come from, you know, Potawatomi County, Gary County, Raleigh County, city, and the cities. I think it should be a you know, we have all put our some resources together, you know, maybe we can get this going.
Well, Muncie County was on the map.
Yeah.
No, I just looked through. Yeah, I just didn't have a way of what I'm sorry.
It's our task force.
Yeah.
It's a regional.
Yeah, I just wondered if so the each of our government entities are getting opioid funds, counties, the cities. So this is a very timely thing to have the substance abuse task force. And I know
But
that
there's-
there's had one meeting.
There's technically 2 parts to this conversation. There's the task force and there's keeping Asia on to do what she's been doing over the last 8 months. So if we're weighing both of those or both of those fit together, that's fine. And it's fine if we can use opioid funds. I mean, as a person kind of responsible for administering those, I really don't know what it is at this point in time. So
Do they, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, time's of the essence. I don't know, Asia, are you available to at least stay on through the end of this year? If there's funding available. So, I mean, the short-term solution is get the funding. So if Julie can get to us and your group, how much we need to get through the end of the year, all of us can get together and figure out how to fund it for respective boards, we all have enough money between all of us, so let's solve that short-term problem.
Right.
We can find enough money for a part-time person through the end of the year. And then by November, bring to us a long-term solution. How much money you need for 2024, and all of us will have more money by then, and then we can discuss how we go forward. But we have to decide rather quickly if we're gonna get the money together to keep the current position going. And then we can figure out all the rest of it.
I agree with that, but I'd like to have some information and a job description of what we're paying them. And what is expected, and what is expected from each
How
county.
soon would you like it?
I like it.
Yeah.
But
I get it, and I go back to it, yeah.
But I'd like to know what's expected from each county, their participation, and what we're gonna get for the money. What are we gonna get? So it's about how many schools are we gonna go to, how much information is gonna be, yelled out to the kids in Potawatomi. We've got a name, we've got Rock Creek, we've got Long Haven, we've got St. Mary's. I mean, it's just not a small little deal.
Right. Not when you're looking at like 3 counties and all the communities and all those, yeah, everybody can.
we got some different entities within there too. I mean, you got some kind of larger cities within Manhattan,
Right.
Ocean City, and kind of that 24 corridor, and then you've got rural entities. And although sadly the end result is still the same, there's a lot of other different factors that lead up to it. But, yeah.
Also, another thing that I do want to add is that I've been able to work with the Raleigh County area and get in contact with a lot of individuals within the Raleigh County area, but it hasn't been as easy to get in contact with the same individuals or reciprocate efforts in each other county. So if this position is extended out, I do need some type of list or available individuals to come and contact me so that I can reciprocate the same efforts in each county. 'Cause I don't want to just concentrate, like you said, if it's a regional effort, all of them need the same attention.
Well, I think we've got to start with each county's health department, correct? So we have to want to work with Potawatomi County, we'll have to work with Erie County.
I think you have a committed county commissioner that will introduce you to anybody. In Potawatomi County,
Anybody got a list?
he will make it happen. Now we need to find Gary. And Sand and Gary.
Yeah, Charles is supposed to be here today, right?
Yeah, I'd be a part of that. That's been like asking the devil to be a part of this.
We have your phone, they have your phone number.
We don't have.
So it's.
But you don't have email either.
They might be better off, yes, we do, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I do like Rich's idea of, let's solve the short-term problem there, so we don't leave somebody good that we know is doing good work hanging.
Yeah.
And try to work quickly on developing a longer-term strategy and or plan.
Yeah, the schools are just opening, so it's important to get on top of it.
Yeah, and I think as we think of purposes to spend the opioid money, this is a direct link to how we ought to spend it.
I think this task force should be given at least a narrative of
Yeah.
what we should use some of those other funds for, because they're gonna be best to know what.
Well, this,
that is.
this would be something tangible, we could get at immediately, and the others are, I think, more of the task force's eventual recommendation. So we don't know when they're gonna report out.
Well, I'm gonna ask this. I mean, I would be a part of the task force. But at the same time, if Jenny would be considered part of it, I would gladly.
She is. Go to the first two. Make sure everybody understands your commitment, because she can't commit for Potawatomi County. I don't know, what does she do?
But any other, Barry, do you have any, or anybody else have any?
Okay, so you're not with the county.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, I don't know what to do next.
Try to get these people off the streets.
I'll tell you one thing, if you don't want to hear, then I'll be done this week. There's 5 words. Over a period of 2 years. And you never let my mind. And when I got out of church at 5, all right, that case and I. That was 2 words, case and I. Then 2 weeks later, when we had the funeral, I never heard a person cry and scream going in that church. And all she said was, I can't do this. I can't do this. And them words, those 5 words would never leave my brain. They're embedded. So that's how bad this is. And I don't cry for just anybody, so. Neither does you. I just want everybody to know that's how important this is.
I want to thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
I think you've really put an exclamation mark at the end of the discussion and throughout the conversation.
I try to do better all the meetings.
With your personal experience, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Let's run this together so that all the groups can come together and.
You give me my job description.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
And take up, take up as many as the collaborative meetings as we need to. We
Yeah.
need to do that here, let's do it here.
Yeah.
We need to intergovernmental complete that.
Yep.
When we have best things together,
Yeah.
you know, that might be a good spot to do
Yeah,
that.
well, that makes-
Julie, remember it's August 16th already,
I know.
17th.
Yeah, they're all. Is Casey on your last?
Yes.
Who is Sharon? Cheryl, you're the rep. Okay.
Yeah. Great.